So the unrest in North Carolina after the shooting of Keith Lamont Scott by a police officer raises a lot of questions about how far social justice protests should be allowed to go and whether law enforcement officers, when they should use lethal weapon and other things. I want to discuss it all now with Attorney General Ken Paxton of Texas. Ken, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
There's a lot of things I'd like to go over with you. First, let's start in North Carolina. I'm sure you've seen this video by Keith Scott's wife. How does that change anything, if anything, with what's going on there? And as an Attorney General, how do you see the handling so far?
You know what? It's actually been disappointing and frustrating to watch. We had obviously a similar event in Dallas, and one of the things that I saw that I think worked really well is the community came together to support law enforcement, but also we had groups like Operation Blue Shield, police officers together, and it was really effective, and it's disappointing to see this continuing.
There's also a report out from the Fraternal Order of Police Officers down there that 70% of the people arrested in these riots have out-of-state identification. Can something be done to stop these traveling marauders, these professional thugs, from going from scene to scene to scene, upsetting the locals, creating havoc, and really, I mean, really, why is this allowed to happen?
You know, I think there might be considered legislation either at a state level or federal level to deal with this, because it is shocking that these groups of people go around the country stirring up trouble, creating riots, and ultimately having a negative impact on the cities that they go to.
Ken, I want to shift gears to the great state of Texas and your governor now saying that he wants to stop with the U.S. government program that provides service and aid to refugees, saying, quote, that empathy must be balanced with security. Texas, of course, lost a lawsuit against the Fed on this issue. So how exactly are you going to go about this, and what's the justification?
So the justification is this. The governor simply asked for information, threat levels, what types of people are you bringing into our state, and what is the risk to our citizens, and we can't get that information. So he said, look, if you aren't willing to give that to us, we're going to give it till September 30th. If you don't give us that information, we're withdrawing from the program, and we're not going to participate. So as of January 31st, we'll be out of the program if we can't receive this basic information that we believe we need to protect our citizens.
Is it your opinion and that of the governor that the citizens of Texas are in grave danger with these refugees?
Well, we just already know. We've already had an incident in Houston where we had to arrest a refugee from Iraq that came in through this program. And so we know that this is occurring other places in the country, and we don't want to be in a position where we're reacting instead of having information ahead of time to stop it.
Ken, also finally, Texas, you've come up again with the Supreme Court on the issue of voter ID. You're trying to get the laws back to where they were. How are you going about that? And why are you so insistent that Texas have tough voter ID laws?
Well, it's actually a pretty reasonable voter ID. All we're asking is that when you vote, you show a photo ID. And I can tell you this, when I went to the Court of Appeals to argue, when we went there to argue photo ID, when I got on the plane, I had to show photo ID. When I went to my hotel, I had to show photo ID. When I went to the court to hear arguments on whether photo ID should be allowed in elections, guess what? I had to show photo ID. So all we're asking for is a way to protect against fraud and protect the integrity of our election.
Ken, I can tell you, if you worked in this building, the last thing you ever want to do is come to work without your ID. That's all I can tell you.
It's used, Charles, it's used everywhere, and everybody knows it. So it's very odd that somehow, because we've had 3 elections now, statewide elections where photo ID has worked nearly flawlessly, and yet they don't have any examples of any discrimination, and yet they're charging us with that.
Yeah. It's amazing that these marauders can go from state to state, but no one has the ability to go get a voter ID. It's pathetic. I'm glad you're staying on the case, though, and I really appreciate you taking out the time tonight.
Hey, have a good weekend. Thanks for having me on.
You too. Thanks a lot.